The Dispensation of Bahá'u'lláh. To the beloved of God and the handmaids of the merciful throughout the West. Fellow laborers in the divine vineyard. Paragraph 1. On the 23rd of May of this auspicious year, the Bahá'í world will celebrate the 90th anniversary of the founding of the faith of Bahá'u'lláh. We who at this hour find ourselves standing on the threshold of the last decade of the first century of the Bahá'í era might well pause to reflect upon the mysterious dispensations of so august, so momentous a revelation. How vast, how entrancing the panorama which the revolution of 80 years and 10 unrolls before our eyes. Its towering grandeur well nigh overwhelms us. To merely contemplate this unique spectacle, to visualize, however dimly, the circumstances attending the birth and gradual unfoldment of this supreme theophany, to recall even in their barest outline the woeful struggles that proclaimed its rise and accelerated its march, will suffice to convince every unbiased observer of those eternal truths that motivate its life and which must continue to impel it forward until it achieves its destined ascendancy. 2. Dominating the entire range of this fascinating spectacle towers the incomparable figure of Bahá'u'lláh, transcendental in his majesty, serene, awe-inspiring, unapproachably glorious. Allied, though subordinate in rank, and invested with the authority of presiding with him over the destinies of this supreme dispensation, there shines upon this mental picture the youthful glory of the Bab, infinite in his tenderness, irresistible in his charm, unsurpassed in his heroism, unmatched in the dramatic circumstances of his short yet eventful life. And finally there emerges, though on a plane of its own, and in a category entirely apart from the one occupied by the twin figures that preceded him, the vibrant, the magnetic personality of Abdul-Bahá, reflecting to a degree that no man, however exalted his station, can hope to rival, the glory and power with which they, who are the manifestations of God, are alone endowed. 3. With Abdul-Bahá's ascension, more particularly with the passing of his well-beloved and illustrious sister, the most exalted Leaf, the last survivor of a glorious and heroic age, there draws to a close the first and most moving chapter of Bahá'í history, marking the conclusion of the primitive, the apostolic age of the faith of Bahá'u'lláh. It was Abdul-Bahá who, through the provisions of his weighty will and testament, has forged the vital link which must forever connect the age that has just expired with the one we now live in, the transitional and formative period of the faith, a stage that must in the fullness of time reach its blossom and yield its fruit in the exploits and triumphs that are to herald the golden age of the revelation of Bahá'u'lláh. 4. Dearly beloved friends, the onrushing forces so miraculously released through the agency of two independent and swiftly successive manifestations are now under our very eyes, and through the care of the chosen stewards of a far-flung faith, being gradually mustered and disciplined. They are slowly crystallizing into institutions that will come to be regarded as the hallmark and glory of the age we are called upon to establish and by our deeds immortalize. For upon our present-day efforts, and above all upon the extent to which we strive to remodel our lives after the pattern of sublime heroism associated with those gone before us, must depend the efficacy of the instruments we now fashion, instruments that must erect the structure of that blissful commonwealth which must signalize the golden age of our faith. 5. It is not my purpose, as I look back upon these crowded years of heroic deeds, to attempt even a cursory review of the mighty events that have transpired since 1844 until the present day. Nor have I any intention to undertake an analysis of the forces that have precipitated them, or to evaluate their influence upon peoples and institutions in almost every continent of the globe. The authentic record of the lives of the first believers of the primitive period of our faith, together with the assiduous research which competent Baha'i historians will in the future undertake, will combine to transmit to posterity such masterly exposition of the history of that age as my own efforts can never hope to accomplish. My chief concern, at this challenging period of Baha'i history, is rather to call the attention of those who are destined to be the champion builders of the administrative order of Baha'u'lláh to certain fundamental verities, the elucidation of which must tremendously assist them in the effective prosecution of their mighty enterprise. 6. The international status which the religion of God has thus far achieved, moreover, imperatively demands that its root principles be now definitely clarified. The unprecedented impetus which the illustrious deeds of the American believers have lent to the onward march of the faith, the intense interest which the first Majorgal Askar of the West is fast awakening among diverse races and nations, the rise and steady consolidation of Baha'i institutions in no less than 40 of the most advanced countries of the world, the dissemination of Baha'i literature in no fewer than 25 of the most widely spoken languages, the success that has recently attended the nationwide efforts of the Persian believers in the preliminary steps they have taken for the establishment, in the outskirts of the capital city of their native land, of the third Majorgal Askar of the Baha'i world, the measures that are being taken for the immediate formation of their first National Spiritual Assembly, representing the interests of the overwhelming majority of Baha'i adherents, the projected erection of yet another pillar of the Universal House of Justice, the first of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere, the testimonies, both verbal and written, that a struggling faith has obtained from royalty, from governmental institutions, international tribunals, and ecclesiastical dignitaries, the publicity it has received from the charges which unrelenting enemies, both new and old, have hurled against it, the formal enfranchisement of a section of its followers from the fetters of Moslem orthodoxy in a country that may be regarded as the most enlightened among Islamic nations, these afford ample proof of the growing momentum with which the invincible community of the Most Great Name is marching forward to ultimate victory. 7. Dearly beloved friends, I feel it incumbent upon me, by virtue of the obligations and responsibilities which, as guardian of the faith of Baha'u'lláh, I am called upon to discharge, to lay special stress, at a time when the light of publicity is being increasingly focused upon us, upon certain truths which lie at the basis of our faith, and the integrity of which it is our first duty to safeguard. These verities, if valiantly upheld and properly assimilated, will, I am convinced, powerfully reinforce the vigor of our spiritual life, and greatly assist in counteracting the machinations of an implacable and vigilant enemy. 8. To strive to obtain a more adequate understanding of the significance of Baha'u'llah's stupendous revelation must, it is my unalterable conviction, remain the first obligation and the object of the constant endeavor of each one of its loyal adherents. An exact and thorough comprehension of so vast a system, so sublime a revelation, so sacred a trust, is for obvious reasons beyond the reach and ken of our finite minds. We can, however, and it is our bounden duty, to seek to derive fresh inspiration and added sustenance as we labor for the propagation of his faith through a clearer apprehension of the truths it enshrines and the principles on which it is based. 9. In a communication addressed to the American believers, I have, in the course of my explanation of the Station of the Bab, made a passing reference to the incomparable greatness of the revelation of which he considered himself to be the humble precursor. He whom Baha'u'lláh has acclaimed in the Kitab-i-Igan as that promised Qa'im, who had manifested no less than 25 out of the 27 letters which all of the prophets were destined to reveal, so great a revealer has himself testified to the preeminence of that superior revelation which was soon to supersede his own. The germ, the Bab asserts in the Persian Bayan, that holds within itself the potentialities of the revelation that is to come, is endowed with a potency superior to the combined forces of all those who follow me. Of all the tributes, he again affirms, I have paid to him who is to come after me, the greatest is this, my written confession, that no words of mine can adequately describe him, nor can any reference to him in my book, the Bayan, do justice to his cause. The Bayan, he, in that same book, categorically declares, and whosoever is therein, revolve around the saying of him whom God shall make manifest, even as the Aleph, the Gospel, and whosoever was therein revolved round the saying of Muhammad, the Apostle of God. 1,000 perusals of the Bayan, he further remarks, cannot equal the perusal of a single verse to be revealed by him whom God shall make manifest. Today the Bayan is in the stage of seed, at the beginning of the manifestation of him whom God shall make manifest. Its ultimate perfection will become apparent. The Bayan, and such as are believers therein, yearn more ardently after him than the yearning of any lover after his beloved. The Bayan deriveth all its glory from him whom God shall make manifest. All blessing be upon him who believeth in him, and woe betide him that rejecteth his truth. Addressing Sayyid Yahya-i-Darabi, surnamed Vahid, the most learned, the most eloquent and influential among his followers, the Bab utters this warning, by the righteousness of him whose power causeth the seed to germinate, and who breatheth the spirit of life into all things, were I to be assured that in the day of his manifestation thou wilt deny him, I would unhesitatingly disown thee and repudiate thy faith. If, on the other hand, I be told that a Christian, who beareth no allegiance to my faith, will believe in him, the same will I regard as the apple of mine eye. 11. In one of his prayers, he thus communes with Baha'u'lláh, Exalted art thou, O my Lord the Omnipotent! How puny and contemptible my word and all that pertaineth unto me appear, unless they be related to thy great glory. Grant that through the assistance of thy grace, whatsoever pertaineth unto me may be acceptable in thy sight. 12. In the Qayyum al-Asma, the Bab's commentary on the Surah of Joseph, characterized by the author of the Igan as the first, the greatest, and mightiest of the books revealed by the Bab, we read the following references to Baha'u'lláh. Out of utter nothingness, O great and omnipotent Master, thou hast, through the celestial potency of thy might, brought me forth and raised me up to proclaim this revelation. I have made none other but thee my trust. I have clung to no will but thy will, O thou remnant of God. I have sacrificed myself wholly for thee. I have accepted curses for thy sake, and have yearned for naught but martyrdom in the path of thy love. Sufficient witness unto me is God, the exalted, the protector, the ancient of days. And when the appointed hour hath struck, he again addresses Baha'u'lláh in that same commentary, Do thou, by the leave of God, the All-Wise, reveal from the heights of the most lofty and mystic mount a faint and infinitesimal glimmer of thy impenetrable mystery, that they who have recognized the radiance of the Sinaic splendor may faint away and die as they catch a lightning glimpse of the fierce and crimson light that envelops thy revelation. 13. As a further testimony to the greatness of the revelation identified with Baha'u'lláh may be cited the following extracts from a tablet addressed by Abdul-Baha to an eminent Zoroastrian follower of the faith. Thou hast written, that in the sacred books of the followers of Zoroaster, it is written that in the latter days, in 3 separate dispensations, the sun must needs be brought to a standstill. In the first dispensation, it is predicted, the sun will remain motionless for 10 days. In the second, for twice that time. In the third, for no less than 1 whole month. The interpretation of this prophecy is this. The first dispensation to which it refers is the Mohammedan dispensation, during which the Sun of Truth stood still for 10 days. Each day is reckoned as 1 century. The Mohammedan dispensation must have, therefore, lasted no less than 1,000 years, which is precisely the period that has elapsed from the setting of the star of the Imamate to the advent of the dispensation proclaimed by the Bab. The second dispensation, referred to in this prophecy, is the one inaugurated by the Bab himself, which began in the year 1260 AH, and was brought to a close in the year 1280 AH. As to the third dispensation, the revelation proclaimed by Baha'u'lláh, inasmuch as the Sun of Truth, when attaining that station, shineth in the plenitude of its meridian splendor, its duration hath been fixed for a period of 1 whole month, which is the maximum time taken by the sun to pass through a sign of the zodiac. From this thou canst imagine the magnitude of the Baha'i cycle, a cycle that must extend over a period of at least 500,000 years. 14. From the text of this explicit and authoritative interpretation of so ancient a prophecy, it is evident how necessary it is for every faithful follower of the faith to accept the divine origin and uphold the independent status of the Mohammedan dispensation. The validity of the Imamate is, moreover, implicitly recognized in these same passages, that divinely appointed institution, of whose most distinguished member the Bab, Sayyid Ali Muhammad, himself was a lineal descendant, and which continued for a period of no less than 260 years to be the chosen recipient of the guidance of the Almighty and the repository of one of the 2 most precious legacies of Islam, i.e., his book and his family. 15. This same prophecy, we must furthermore recognize, attests the independent character of the Babi dispensation, and corroborates indirectly the truth that in accordance with the principle of progressive revelation, every manifestation of God must needs vouchsafe to the peoples of his day a measure of divine guidance ampler than that which a preceding and less receptive age could have received or appreciated. For this reason, and not for any superior merit which the Baha'i faith may be said to inherently possess, does this prophecy bear witness to the unrivaled power and glory with which the dispensation of Baha'u'lláh has been invested, a dispensation the potentialities of which we are but beginning to perceive, and the full range of which we can never determine. 16. The faith of Baha'u'lláh should indeed be regarded, if we wish to be faithful to the tremendous implications of its message, as the culmination of a cycle, the final stage in a series of successive, of preliminary and progressive revelations. These, beginning with Adam and ending with the Bab, have paved the way and anticipated with an ever-increasing emphasis the advent of that day of days in which he who is the promise of all ages should be made manifest. 17. To this truth the utterances of Baha'u'lláh abundantly testify. The mere reference to the claims which, in vehement language and with compelling power, he himself has repeatedly advanced cannot but fully demonstrate the character of the revelation of which he was the chosen bearer. To the words that have streamed from his pen, the fountainhead of so impetuous a revelation, we should therefore direct our attention if we wish to obtain a clearer understanding of its importance and meaning. Whether in his assertion of the unprecedented claim he has advanced, or in his allusions to the mysterious forces he has released, whether in such passages as extol the glories of his long-awaited day, or magnify the station which they who have recognized its hidden virtues will attain, Baha'u'lláh, and to an almost equal extent the Bab and Abdul-Baha, have bequeathed to posterity minds of such inestimable wealth as none of us who belong to this generation can befittingly estimate. Such testimonies bearing on this theme are impregnated with such power and reveal such beauty as only those who are versed in the languages in which they were originally revealed can claim to have sufficiently appreciated. So numerous are these testimonies that a whole volume would be required to be written in order to compile the most outstanding among them. All I can venture to attempt at present is to share with you only such passages as I have been able to glean from his voluminous writings. 18. I testify before God, proclaims Baha'u'lláh, to the greatness, the inconceivable greatness of this revelation. Again and again have we, in most of our tablets, borne witness to this truth, that mankind may be roused from its heedlessness. In this most mighty revelation, he unequivocally announces, all the dispensations of the past have attained their highest, their final consummation. That which hath been made manifest in this preeminent, this most exalted revelation, stands unparalleled in the annals of the past, nor will future ages witness its like. He it is, referring to himself, he further proclaims, who in the Old Testament hath been named Jehovah, who in the Gospel hath been designated as the Spirit of Truth, and in the Koran acclaimed as the Great Announcement. But for him, no divine messenger would have been invested with the robe of prophethood, nor would any of the sacred scriptures have been revealed. To this bear witness all created things. The word which the one true God uttereth in this day, though that word be the most familiar and commonplace of terms, is invested with supreme, with unique distinction. The generality of mankind is still immature. Had it acquired sufficient capacity, we would have bestowed upon it so great a measure of our knowledge that all who dwell on earth and in heaven would have found themselves, by virtue of the grace streaming from our pen, completely independent of all knowledge save the knowledge of God, and would have been securely established upon the throne of abiding tranquility. The pen of holiness, I solemnly affirm before God, hath writ upon my snow-white brow, and in characters of effulgent glory, these glowing, these musk-scented and holy words. Behold, ye that dwell on earth, and ye denizens of heaven, bear witness, he in truth is your well-beloved. He it is, whose like the world of creation hath not seen, he whose ravishing beauty hath delighted the eye of God, the Ordainer, the All-Powerful, the Incomparable. 19. Followers of the Gospel, Baha'u'lláh, addressing the whole of Christendom, exclaims, Behold, the gates of heaven are flung open. He that hath ascended unto it is now come. Give ear to his voice, calling aloud over land and sea, announcing to all mankind the advent of this revelation, a revelation through the agency of which the tongue of grandeur is now proclaiming, Lo, the sacred pledge hath been fulfilled, for he, the promised one, is come. The voice of the Son of Man is calling aloud from the sacred veil, Here am I, O God, my God. Whilst from the burning bush breaketh forth the cry, Lo, the desire of the world is made manifest in his transcendent glory. The Father hath come. That which ye were promised in the kingdom of God is fulfilled. This is the word which the Son veiled when he said to those around him that at that time they could not bear it. Verily the Spirit of truth is come to guide you unto all truth. He is the one who glorified the Son and exalted his cause. The Comforter, whose advent all the Scriptures have promised, is now come, that he may reveal unto you all knowledge and wisdom. Seek him over the entire surface of the earth. Haply ye may find him. 20. Call out to Zion, O Carmel, writes Baha'u'lláh, and announce the joyful tidings. He that was hidden from mortal eyes is come. His all-conquering sovereignty is manifest. His all-encompassing splendor is revealed. Hasten forth, and circumambulate the city of God, that hath descended from heaven, the celestial Kaaba, around which have circled in adoration the favored of God, the pure in heart, and the company of the most exalted angels. I am the one, he in another connection affirms, whom the tongue of Isaiah hath extolled, the one with whose name both the Torah and the Evangel were adorned. The glory of Sinai hath hastened to circle round the dayspring of this revelation, while from the heights of the kingdom the voice of the Son of God is heard proclaiming, Bestir yourselves, ye proud ones of the earth, and hasten ye towards him. Carmel hath in this day hastened in longing adoration to attain his court, whilst from the heart of Zion there cometh the cry, The promise of all ages is now fulfilled. That which had been announced in the holy writ of God, the Beloved, the Most High, is made manifest. Hijaz is astir by the breeze through announcing the tidings of joyous reunion. Praise be to thee. We hear her exclaim, O my Lord, the Most High, I was dead through my separation from thee. The breeze laden with the fragrance of thy presence hath brought me back to life. Happy is he that turneth unto thee, and woe betide the erring. By the one true God, Elijah hath hastened unto my court, and hath circumambulated in the daytime and in the night season my throne of glory. Solomon in all his majesty circles in adoration around me in this day, uttering this most exalted word, I have turned my face towards thy face, O thou omnipotent ruler of the world. I am wholly detached from all things pertaining unto me, and yearn for that which thou dost possess. Had Muhammad, the apostle of God, attained this day, Baha'u'lláh writes in a tablet revealed on the eve of his banishment to the penal colony of Akka, he would have exclaimed, I have truly recognized thee, O thou the desire of the divine messengers. Had Abraham attained it, he too, falling prostrate upon the ground and in the utmost lowliness before the Lord thy God, would have cried, Mine heart is filled with peace, O thou Lord of all that is in heaven and on earth. I testify that thou hast unveiled before mine eyes all the glory of thy power and the full majesty of thy law. Had Moses himself attained it, he likewise would have raised his voice, saying, All praise be to thee for having lifted upon me the light of thy countenance, and enrolled me among them that have been privileged to behold thy face. North and south both vibrate to the call announcing the advent of our revelation. We can hear the voice of Mecca acclaiming, All praise be to thee, O Lord my God, the all-glorious, for having wafted over me the breath redolent with the fragrance of thy presence. Jerusalem likewise is calling aloud, Lauded and magnified art thou, O beloved of earth and heaven, for having turned the agony of my separation from thee into the joy of a life-giving reunion.